Welcome back to DAP Build. Today is a couple of quick little instructionals which I did within the car. So nice and simple, just going to replace the steering wheel, and then later on I've actually bought some equipment in order to check just how bad this engine actually is. And of course that means plugging it into the OBD port, checking the fault codes, and then going from there. So it's a bit of a mashup because I recorded some parts later than others. So anyway, enjoy. So I'm going to change the steering wheel now. As much as I kind of like the steering wheel, it fits the car and everything like that. It was the one that was announced with the vehicle, prototype, everything like that. It just doesn't work for me. So I'm changing it to something has a bit better feel to it. The grip here is a bit so-so. These plastic parts here, I forever see them completely worn down with black marks and everything like that. This one's already starting to go. This one's actually going silver, weirdly enough, but I just don't like the feel. It feels like it goes inwards. It just doesn't work for me. So it's going to be changed out. I'm going to get something a bit more better look at, but at the same time too, it's just going to feel better in general. So the way we do this is, number one, obviously disconnect the battery. So I've already done that. Drain the system, so turn the key on, make sure there's nothing left in there, and leave the key in the ignition so that I can actually rotate the steering wheel. So that's in, rotate it upwards. So we're basically going to 3 o'clock. Flathead screwdriver. I've seen some people make a tool. At the end of the day, I've had a bit of practice with this, just off camera, just trying it out, just seeing if I can actually remove it. Whether or not I needed to make something, I'm pretty confident I can just use this and get it done. So, oh, that's not going to be annoying at all. Anyway, I'll try not to move too much. So there's a couple of little recesses, a couple of holes in behind the steering wheel. Instead of having screws, which would have been so much easier, they had these stupid little holes. So get your screwdriver, you want it flex section upwards, and just kind of slot it in. And we're just going to glide it against the ridge of the steering wheel, keep pushing. You'll eventually feel it seats, more or less. Once it's done that, you pull upwards on the screwdriver handle, and then out it pops. So it's not too bad, it's just a matter of knowing what you're feeling around. Anyway, onto the other side. Right, again, that damn seat keeps squeaking. Doesn't seem to do it when I'm driving. Push it in. There we go. In and pop. There we go. Now don't pull too hard because you don't want to remove the airbag from where it's stationed. There is a wire. So I'm just going to sit it centrally. Just lean it forward, and there's a little connector at the back. So that's the steering wheel airbag from the steering wheel removed now. So that's done. So what we're going to do now is rotate the steering wheel. Some people use the actual steering lock. You can, but realistically it's something I prefer not to do. So one of these star headpiece things, star hex, I have no idea. T55H, there you go. Nice big decent length breaker bar in the end, and I'm probably going to smack my arm against something here, so not far enough around. Hopefully this pops. A bit more. There we go. Woo! Don't have your face near that one. All right. Yes, okay. There we go. So, it comes out. What I'm going to do is return the steering wheel to center, just so I know. And, yep, that's spot on. Right there. Now the moment of truth. We remove Now the moment of truth. We remove the little wire in here. Is actually required to remove. that slots right off. So that's all well and good. That's out of the way now. Our new steering wheel, it's got to make certain that that is central, because that's where it needs to be in order to line up the steering wheel, both in terms of slotting it on. Bit more sporty, much more chunkier and firmer grip. Some of you may already recognize what this is out of, but the pièce de résistance will be put on very soon. I'm not going to completely reassemble it. There's no point showing you that. I'm just going to whack it on, show you the finished product, and then moving on to the next thing. So, steering wheel, we line it up like so. That's brilliant. Very nice. Okay, again, not going to put the screw on because I've got to re-Loctite and all that sort of thing, but this then clips into the new airbag piece. This does actually have some screws in here, so it makes it easier. And then finally, rests on like so. A little weird having an Audi badge on here, but VAG, they're all parts anyway. Golf, Volkswagen, Beetle, Audi TT, it's all the same equipment. So this steering wheel just looks a bit more sporty in comparison, just much nicer. The actual outlay here matches that what's on the dash binnacle, the dial, so it all kind of ties in nicely. The TTs have the vents and everything like that. I'm not going to be doing that, it's just not really required, but yeah, so that's now sorted. Put that together properly and moving on. So one thing that I've finally done is grabbed an OBD to USB cable. This is going to help me do a bit more testing with the ECM, because the little handheld scanner that I have, it's inconsistent. It doesn't always give me all the fault codes. Beyond that, it doesn't go further into other issues within the system, such as the ABS computer, airbags, all that sort of thing. So it is going to give me a bit more information, which is really what I need to sort out some of these warning lights. But got my little trusty miniature teeny tiny laptop here, which is very handy for doing this sort of stuff, because you don't need a massive laptop. But just going to try and get this in. I think I need to open the door. So the port on these is directly underneath where your steering wheel is, but nope, not going to get it in. There we go. Okay, just make sure it's secure. Yep. Grab my laptop. Plug in. Now, the program I'm going to be using, I think this will show up, is VCDS Lite. The Lite version is basically just the freeware version, but more or less, it's just going to give me the codes I need. It doesn't have a few of the other extra things, which in my situation, I don't really need, or probably won't need. So I'm just going to run the Lite version for now. It simply just doesn't give me all of the error code messages, but I can look those up online really easily. So go to select control module. So that's on the morning again. And then you've got all the actual options here: engine, transmission, etc, etc, and so on. In my situation, I don't have an auto, it's manual, so the trans one's useless, but the engine's really what I need in this case. So it's going to do a bit of reading if I turn the actual car on. Ooh, okay. Yeah, some of the lights are still off, which isn't great, so that needs to be sorted too. So it's going to do, there we go, so it's picked it up. A couple of numbers there, none of which I really understand. So anyway, going to fault codes, and yeah, so still 4 fault codes. I've already actually checked this, obviously, just to ensure I know what I'm talking about and doing, but it gives you 2 which actually have details. So the very first one and the very last one, the 2 in the middle, it's saying to register in order to get the rest of the codes. Now, I have looked them up. I do actually have, you can save these codes, and just saves it to a little text file. So I've done that already, and then of course I've just put in the information I found online. So the 4 codes that I have is 17511 P1103-35-10, which is coming up as a oxygen lambda sensor heating. Performance is too low. Looking online, most people have simply replaced, I don't need this anymore, have replaced the sensor itself. I'm not going to do that off the bat, because I'm going to go by trial of error. So there's other codes here which I'm going to tackle first, and then lead myself into replacing other parts just to see if there's nothing that is complementary in causing issues and faults. The second code, which is 16500 P0116-35-00, that's coming up as a coolant temp sensor, basically as a, I didn't actually write the reason, but it was more or less just an intermittent or inconsistent value. So I have already bought a new one. This is actually a brand one, not a cheap Chinese knockoff, just so you actually do get some accuracy and longevity out of it. Yeah, that's going to be the first thing I change. So I'll be changing that in the weekend. I think it's going to rain, so I don't know, that might be out of the question, who knows. But yeah, change that first, then see whether or not that's complementary to the oxygen sensor, which probably isn't. But because the coolant sensor can actually really screw with the fueling and just everything basically for, you know, cold running and all that sort of thing, this car will stay cold for so long. The blue light will stay on for a fair while. It won't get up to temperature. And the trouble is that you don't really know what you're actually reading, if it's dropping, if it's going back up and everything like that. It's just giving inconsistent values. So it could be dumping fuel in and just causing, you know, everything else to not act properly. I am actually getting a proper temperature gauge, which hopefully is coming today. I've got some other bits and pieces which I'll be setting up later. More on that when I get to it. This might be included in this episode, I don't know yet. The next one was 17743 P1335-35-10. This is coming up as engine torque monitor 2, control limit exceeded. What a lot of people have actually said this is related to, and what they've experienced anyway, and something I've also had, is that you're driving along and the next thing, it kind of feels like the car's surging. The EPC light will suddenly drop and you go into limp mode. You basically just lost all power. You turn the car off, you turn the car back on, everything's reset, we're back to golden. The reason potentially why it's doing it is because of a collapsed pipe. The actual pipe is restricting the flow from the turbo to the inlet. I had a friend basically drop the throttle when it was on, but the problem is the car was in neutral, so there's no load. So I can't really accurately test this one, not that I can think of anyway. I'll just have to actually look at all the pipes. The pipe that goes from the inlet to the intercooler is quite flexible. It's probably meant to be, but it's really difficult to say. I will be replacing those in the future. The trouble is that is a ways away. I've got other things to do in the meantime before that, so I don't really know what to do in that case. But anyway, and this next one I believe is also related to this particular one here, which is a pressure drop between the turbo, actually number 17705 P129735-00. This one's coming up with pressure drop between turbo and throttle valve. So it's saying to check the DV. I think it's to do with the pipe. So there's something restricting flow, and it's obviously measuring that inconsistency. So it could also be the diverter valve. It's very possible. I'm more inclined, because I've got that other code, I'm more inclined to think it's a pipe. So it's something related to between the turbo and the inlet. So I'll check that out first. So that's pretty much the engine side of things all sorted. The other one that I checked was the ABS system. And again, same sort of deal. You go through VCDS, you've got an option there for it. Just quickly show, no response here, I know because I turned it off. Yeah, so number 3 for me, ABS brakes. We went into that, and then therefore save that, comes out as a log file. Log files within the program file in system and all that sort of stuff. If you have a look, you'll find it. Crap on the laptop. This one came up with 3 codes, 2 which were directly related. The very first one, which this is actually quite, it's kind of hard because there's 2 possible issues with it, and it's 0134-013, which is stating for an engine control module, no communications. I know there's communications because occasionally that light will go out and then occasionally it'll just thud back on. What they're saying is that on this, there's 2 different ones, more or less. One's got no communication, which again, it doesn't relate to a direct number. So 013 doesn't give me anything here, but one's marked as a no communication, which is more or less that the wire going from the fuse box to the computer, to the ECM, is having issues. Now that box is getting replaced, so that may completely solve my problem, may not. The second part was to, yeah, it's just been a stored fault code. This is check DTC memory. Engine control module stored a code which influences other control module functions. Now, the other two codes I have here, probably should have got a drink first. The other two codes I have here, 01542-008 and 01542, same number, -012. This is related to the yaw sensor. So basically a small box that I haven't actually looked through the rest of the paperwork. It's either under here or under there or something like that. And it's just either getting inconsistent power or it's faulty, basically. So it just needs to be replaced. So that seems to be everything I need to actually get things sorted. So worst case scenario, coolant temp sensor, which I've already got, lambda sensor, check all the pipes, see if there's maybe either a split, which is causing a pressure drop, or if one of the pipes, I don't know, if it's somehow completely collapsing. I've no idea how I'm going to check that one. And that's more or less all the engine stuff sorted. The ABS system, hopefully related to that box. I've got the box, I'm waiting for the plug connector. Once they come in, do that, clear all the fault codes. Hopefully the light doesn't come back for the ABS system, and then, yeah, more or less that'll be everything there sorted, fingers crossed. After that, then I'll just be doing basic engine service maintenance, complete. I'll be doing probably an oil change on the weekend, again, if it's not raining, complete coolant flush. May also replace the thermostat at the same time. There's also a kit to replace all of the plastic connectors and pipes and everything like that that connect to the engine with an alloy kit. That's substantially a longer lasting piece of equipment. The plastic ones do tend to get brittle over time and fracture and basically just allow coolant to leak. So I may do that. It's a removal of a fair bit out of the engine bay, and there's other stuff in the engine bay which will be in the future going completely, which will give me so much more access. So I'm thinking I might hold off on that one. Once I've got my temperature gauges and once I replace this this sensor anyway, the coolant system should be okay for now. So I might maybe just leave it for now. I haven't noticed any leaks or anything like that. It seems to be dry underneath the car. There is a slight oil leak from potentially just the cam cover, valve cover gasket, maybe a main seal, but I mean, for the most part, everything seems to be fine. It's just with regards to these couple of errors. So, bit of handy kit. VCDS light, quite good. Get it if you have a Volkswagen, Audi, say it, Skoda, whatever. Yeah, you can buy a license, gives you a few more features. The light's pretty good. It just doesn't give you all the fault codes and everything like that, but you don't really need them, got the internet. So that's pretty good. So that's yeah, that's going to do it again today, guys. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, like, subscribe, comment below, etc. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your neighbor that if he ever wants to do anything car related, make sure it's always raining. It's just constantly raining. I can't get anything done. Anyway, guys, until next time, cheers.